In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 different ways to make $10,000 in real estate in the next 90 days. What's going on, everyone? My name is Bailey Kramer and welcome back to my channel where we talk all things real estate investing. $10,000 is a sizable chunk of change, but it's definitely achievable in the next 90 days if you use one of these 3 strategies. And make sure you stay till the end because I'll be sharing my favorite strategy and the one that will get you there the fastest. Alright, option number 1 is through Airbnb. Now there's a bunch of different ways you can actually make money through Airbnb. You can own the house and make money. You could be a co-host or a manager of a property, or what I'm going to be talking about is number 3 is you can arbitrage a property. Airbnb arbitrage is a super unique model that looks like this. You, the investor, sign a lease with a property owner to rent out their property from 6 months to a year or 2 years, really whatever you can negotiate. Now, this is great for the landlord because they have a lease in place that they're guaranteed rent from you for the next 6, 12, or 18 months. But here's where it gets lucrative for you. You can go ahead and put that property that you're renting on Airbnb. You can actually put this property that you're renting on Airbnb to generate revenue. And the amount of money you make will be determined by how much money you bring in, subtracted by the amount that you owe the owner, and repairs and maintenance and a few other expenses. And you'll be able to keep what's left on the bottom. The startup cost for this is usually pretty minimal. All you'll really have to do is come up with the furniture cost if the property isn't furnished, and it'd be smart to have reserves in case you can't make the rent payment for a couple months. Alright, so let's just say you rent a property for $2,000 per month. And on this property, you can bring in $5,300 on average a month on Airbnb. If you take the $5,300 a month that you're bringing in from Airbnb and subtract it by the $2,000 you owe the landlord, you're left with a profit of $3,300 per month. If you do this 3 times in the next 90 days with properties, you'll earn $10,000 per month. Now, full disclaimer, I have not personally tried this strategy because I personally would rather actually own the property and then rent it out. But for those who are strapped on cash and want to get in quickly and start generating cash flow, this is a great way to start. And I know a lot of successful people that are doing it. Option number 2 is to fix and flip a house. This is a strategy that I've done twice so far. I made $11,000 from the first one and $15,000 from the second one. So I know it can be a very profitable strategy. Essentially what you do is you buy a property that's beat up and needs some love, and most importantly, below market value. Then your job is to fix it up and sell it for market value. Here's how to determine if the property is a good potential fix and flip. Take the ARV, which stands for the after repair value, and multiply it by 0.7 or 70%. Then subtract the amount of money that it's going to take to actually fix up the property. The number you get at the end of this equation will be the amount of money you should spend buying the property. Let me give you a quick case study to show you the exact numbers. I bought a property with an ARV of $180,000. 70% of 180 is $126,000. We estimated rehab costs were right around $40,000, which brings our purchase price number to $86,000. Some people like to use a number greater than 70%. Some people like to use a number less than 70%. But just remember, the smaller the number you use, the better the deal will be. Because think about it, if you buy a property for 90% of its after repair value, there's not much room for profit there. But if you buy a property for 50% its after repair value, then there's typically a ton of room in there for you to make a boatload of cash. I made a video breaking down the exact numbers and strategy I used to flip the house that made me $11,000. So be sure to check that out in the description below. And while you're down there, it'd be a huge help if you can smash that subscribe button so you can stay tuned for all future videos. Alright, now time for option number 3, which is my favorite strategy for new real estate investors, and that is wholesaling. Wholesaling real estate is where you find sellers, let's say a seller that wants to sell for $90,000. But you know that at its current condition, the property is really worth $100,000. What you'd do as a wholesaler is you'd create a contract between you and the seller for $90,000. And what you do after that is you go find a buyer who's willing to pay $100,000 for that same house you just put under contract for $90,000. When the buyer who's actually willing to pay $100,000 closes on that property, you'll earn the difference between what you got it under contract for and what he's actually willing to buy it for. In this case, if he's willing to buy it for $100,000, but you actually got it under contract for $90,000, boom, that's a $10,000 profit. The coolest thing about wholesaling real estate is you actually don't need much money to start. Since you're basically just flipping paper and you don't actually buy the house for $90,000, you just have it under contract for $90,000. You really don't need much money up front. In order to start wholesaling real estate, the first thing that you're gonna need is a lead source to find sellers who are willing to sell their property at a deep discount. I talk about exactly who these buyers are and where to find them in a previous video I made, so I'll leave a link to that one in the description below as well. Wholesaling can be a great way to build up your capital and then eventually start buying rentals of your own. Or it could also be a super lucrative business where you can hire virtual assistants to run a lot of the different operations within the business, and you're basically managing the operation. There you have it. Those are the 3 options I recommend to make $10,000 in the next 90 days. Let me know which of these 3 strategies seems most profitable or interesting to you in the comments below. And if you have value out of this video, do me a favor and smash that subscribe button. And until next time, peace.